We haven't done a full ceremony here, but I will explain that normally in a full-length ceremony, we have these two chalices, in case anyone was wondering. And one has water, which symbolizes the spirit, the life of the spirit. As a Druid, we're always working to perfect our spiritual life. And in this chalice, we have something a bit more substantial. And this symbolizes the earth, the blessings of the earth, because we need the blessings of the sky and we need the blessings of the earth. We need to live in a balanced existence. Our head in the clouds and our feet on the ground, like the mighty oak.
Now you have an oak branch on the table, and you said something to me before the show started about doing rituals.
Right.
In relation to the oak.
We have a report by an ancient author named Pliny, who in his report, it's a very famous story, it's a story about the Druids gathering the mistletoe, and that, by the way, I put mistletoe in each cauldron and in the chalices as well. Mistletoe is very sacred to us. It enhances all magic. But in that quote from Pliny, he was reporting on the Druids of Gaul, and he said that they never did a ceremony unless in the presence of an oak. So as Druids, we try to have an oak branch or acorns or some kind of symbol of the oak. And I'll talk about the oak later in great detail,
yes,
what it means to us.
And you've brought some wonderful things for show and tell, which is going to be terrific. Now you also have, and I don't know if people can see this on the table, you also have a sickle.
Right. This is a real functioning sickle. This has been used in the garden to cut herbs. And this is a very ancient ritual tool, actually. It goes back to the ancient Indo-Europeans, to the Vedic tradition. And that was, well, the earliest recording we have is 900 BC. And then it was continued by the Celts, who were very conservative and kept up the old ways. And this symbolizes the taking of life. So it's life and death. But the thing to remember is that in the Druid point of view, and this is actually a direct quote from ancient Druids, that death is but an interval in the midst of a long life. So we have a very, very long life. Our life is actually eternal. Our souls are eternal. And we just keep coming back. And each time we die, it's just an interval in between our lives. And so the sickle reminds us of that cycle of life and death.
And that's a very important piece of information for everyone to remember. I know there's always a lot of discussion when somebody has a relative who's dying or a friend who is dying about death is a door.
Right.
But the perspective of the Druids is just a little bit different, that it's simply an interval.
It's an interval.
In between. That's a nice perspective. It's really
well,
nice.
One of the, in the ancient Druid tradition, one of the main functions of the Druid, and we're going to be talking about pagans in the military later, so this kind of ties in, but one reason why the Celts were such fearless fighters was because the Druids would address the army and they would remind them that they were eternal, that their soul was eternal, that they were eternal, and that if they did face death, it was but an interval in the midst of a long life.
Now you also have 3 candles on the table, and they are different from what one would find in a normal Wiccan altar, where you'd have the colors for the 4 quarters.
Right. This is not a Wiccan altar.
Right. Exactly.
Yes.
What do the colors symbolize? What do the candles symbolize?
Well, the number 3 has a lot of meaning. It has a lot of different meanings, and I can touch on some of it. But it symbolizes the 3 worlds, just like we had the 3 cauldrons here. You notice we didn't call in the 4 directions?
Exactly.
Yeah, we don't do that. We call in the 3 worlds. And that's land, sea, and sky, or ancestors, nature spirits, and gods. Also past, present, and future. I invoked the Druids of the past, the present, and the future to be with us. And then these 3 colors are particularly Druidic. The blue color is the color of the bard. And the bard is the person who recites poetry, who sings songs, who keeps the genealogy, knows the stories of the families, the family traditions. and entertains people, but also has a sacred function because through the poetry and the story and the song, the Druid teachings come out. That's a bard.
Right.
Okay. The green is the color of the seer, the person who works with nature, directly with nature, and understands the secrets of nature by knowing the trees, knowing the animals, knowing the voices of the water, the different winds, the voices of the birds and the sky, and which birds appear and what they mean. Or they can scry into water, they can look into water, and they can have visions. And they can be healers because they know the secrets of nature. So that's the color green. And then the white, of course, is the color of the Druid as clergy person, as priest or priestess, philosopher, seeker of truth. That's the Druid function. Does that?
Great, that's terrific. It is very different from what is normally on a Wiccan altar, and usually when we set up the altar for Sacred Circle, if we're doing the ritual, it's usually set up as a Wiccan altar.
With the four.
With the four, because most people are familiar with that. Right. So I'm glad that you're here so that we can show a different perspective and give people some other ideas on how they might practice or how they may achieve more fulfillment in their spirituality. So this is great, terrific. Now what we're going to do is take a short break. We're going to leave our ritual site, go back to our table, and we're going to talk some more with Ellen Evert Hopman and with Eric, who is back with us this evening, and my husband Frank and myself, and we hope that you'll all stay tuned because we have a lot more in store for you. Thank you for watching, and we'll be right back.